See, I've been waiting. Waiting on that time. Feel me if you've been waiting on yours. That moment, it's close. It's close. It's close. Yeah. Tired of living day to day like everything's.
Oh my God, everybody, another fight week. And we are back with the Fighter's Block, bringing you that oral release that everybody needs to start out their weekend the right way. My name is Joe Gilpin, the king of sad style, joined as always by my co-host, the king of Salvadorian strong style, Mr. Jesse Rivas. Jesse, how are you doing this week?
Doing good. They're not the best fights on the planet, but they're good. Like, if you're a fight nerd like we are, we're going to have some good, well-matched up, even 50-50 fights, and that makes me happy.
Yo, if you are into fighting, and I mean fighting and not just like a fight star fucker, you're still having a great time in mid-March, trust me. And first of all, I'm going to get in with a little quick plug. If you're not getting everything you want out of your fight sports, there's a great wrestling tournament going on right now, the NCAA Wrestling Championships, which are pretty much the world championships for folk-style wrestling, because we're the only country that does it, because we're the fucking best. That's going on right now in Cleveland. You can follow along with the results of that. And the guys who are going to make their name there this weekend, Jesse, they're going to turn around. They're going to be the MMA stars of tomorrow. We see it every year.
As a non-wrestler, what the hell is folk style?
Okay, so there's folk style and there's freestyle. They do freestyle everywhere else in the world. And when you become like a quote-unquote senior level adult on the international scene and you're like fighting in the Olympics, you're doing freestyle. And that's a little bit more about big moves and explosion and tactics, whereas folk style is more about control. It's a little bit more about grinding. The big technical difference is, if I take you down in freestyle, if I can't turn you really quickly, the referee's going to stand us back up. So it's very takedown heavy, right? And then you see guys like Ramirez are from that. You know, any international wrestler, any Olympic wrestler that we hear from, Daniel Cormier, his biggest accolades are from freestyle. Folk style, if you take somebody down, they have to get the fuck up and get away on their own. So it becomes more of a battle, more of a grind. And that's... Yeah, and I think that you see more success from the folk style guys because of that rule set. It's a lot more similar to MMA.
Who's a folk style wrestler?
Oh boy, so Johnny Hendricks would be a folk style wrestler. Josh Koscheck would be a folk style wrestler. Chad Mendez is a folk style wrestler.
It's interesting that you said that you get more success out of the folk style wrestlers, but all the freestyle wrestlers have achieved more in the UFC.
Sure, they're also Olympic level athletes, you know what I mean? So it's when you have a guy like Yoel Romero, like, yeah, he's going to do just fine. And all the best Americans, you know, a guy like Daniel Cormier, he was in the NCAA finals against Cael Sanderson, the greatest NCAA wrestler of all time. We can see legends in our time out here on the mat, and it's going to be a really exciting weekend. But there's something else going on in the fight world that I want to ask you about, Jesse. Can I ask you about this?
Yes.
The question is, why are people being dumb enough to believe that Floyd Mayweather is going to fight in a fucking cage?
I want to see it.
You want to see it?
I would love to see Floyd Mayweather versus CM Punk, one of the greatest pro wrestlers in the last 20 years versus one of the greatest professional boxers in the last 20 years in a cage, both very inexperienced in MMA. I'd pay to see it.
I actually went back and I watched UFC 1 again very recently, like within the last week. And it is, everybody is someone's uncle. You know what I mean? Like, nobody is able to, there's a couple of guys, you can tell the guys who, like, really prepared. You know what I mean? You can tell the guys who are really on it and they have some idea about what this is supposed to look like. And then there's guys there that they're getting paid in, they're not getting a knockout of the night bonus. They're getting, like, a knockout of the night, like, 6-pack of Miller Lite. You know what I mean? It's terrible. And then my favorite thing from that is they call, they're giving everybody styles. Like, this is a karate fighter. This is a sumo wrestler. Hoist Gracie is from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then for Ken Shamrock, it says shoot fighter. And I assume that's because Steroid Freak wouldn't quite fit on the little chyron they had for him. That was his thing.
It's funny that they said shoot fighter because shoot fighter just means you're actually fighting.
Yeah, it means you're not faking fighting. It means you're not professional wrestling. It doesn't mean anything. They're all shoot fighters. So, you want to see Floyd versus CM Punk? Obviously, that would be fun. That would be crazy headlines. But Floyd came out, and I think Tyron Woodley also came out, and there's been buzz about, oh, Tyron Woodley and Dean Thomas are going to train Floyd Mayweather. in MMA. First question, easy question. Is it going to happen?
Yes.
Okay, speak on this. Give your piece on this, because I don't know if I line up on this.
Floyd Mayweather is really bored. He's not used to not being the center of attention. You got to understand that Floyd Mayweather won his first world title when he was 19 years old, back in 1998.
Pretty boy Floyd?
A year ago, he was a part of the biggest fight in boxing history. And, well, I mean, asterisk.
It was. No, it was.
Biggest box office draw in boxing history.
That fight has a legitimate claim to biggest fight ever.
Yeah. So he's not used to just being at the retirement home. He needs to be out there and be relevant. So if he fights some easy person like CM Punk, I'd watch it. And CM Punk has a big draw. Plus, let's not forget that Floyd Mayweather's not just undefeated in boxing, but he's undefeated in pro wrestling, which also makes him undefeated in MMA, which would be the most undefeated person in 3 sports against CM Punk, the former WWE champion and former 0-1 MMA fighter.
Yeah, they both beat the Big Show. Who do you think looked better against the Big Show? We can do a little MMA math on this real quick. Are you being legitimate? Do you really think that there's a shot that this is accurate?
I think the one thing that's holding the fight back is the fact that CM Punk is legitimately bigger than Floyd Mayweather.
Okay, a couple of things, because I thought we were going to agree on this. I thought it was going to be a quick no and moving along. So,
who's CM Punk going to fight?
Who's Floyd going to fight? Floyd would get... I honestly think Floyd would lose to CM Punk.
Really?
You heard me. I think Floyd is not well suited for an MMA cage. His defense, a lot of his offensive choices, they're all boxing heavy. He's a boxer. He's not an MMA fighter. And
it's funny. Somebody mentioned this the other day. They said, "Oh, if this guy had power, he would have knocked out the other fighter." And he was like, "Well, if the guy had power, the other guy would fight him differently."
He would fight him differently. Yeah, no, I never liked that.
I mean, it's the same thing. You've only seen Floyd Mayweather in the ring. We haven't seen him in the cage. We don't know what he would do against a guy as experienced and as dangerous as a CM Punk.
Yes, but in a lot of ways, Floyd, he really does... He's been very old school with a lot of his training. You know what I mean? He's always been the guy to put in the extra work, not do weird, crazy stuff. Am I right or am I wrong? There's a respect there for the old school, I think. You know, he'll talk trash, but at the end of the day, I do think he has a respect for the old school. And there's such an old school boxing-centric, boxing head hatred of MMA. I don't think he would ever disgrace his own feet by putting them inside a UFC ring, whether that's right or wrong. I don't think there's any way he would do that. Also, that's so much risk. If he goes in there and he gets leg kicked to hell and taken down and held down, boxing is fucked.
Well, he'd be losing against the former World Wrestling Entertainment champion, CM Punk.
But, I mean, come on. CM Punk's a joke. We laugh at CM Punk. We point and we laugh. How dare you?
Do you not remember the pipe bomb?
Oh, I remember it quite well.
The greatest promos of all time.
CM Punk is one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time. I agree. He has one of the only 5-star matches in WWE history. I agree. But I see no way Floyd Money Mayweather is ever stepping inside an MMA cage. Did you see CM Punk is getting close to an actual opponent for, it looks like, UFC 224 or something in Chicago, whatever the Chicago card is?
What? Who's he fighting?
No clue yet. I've heard buzz that it's going to be that guy Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson is also 0-1, and he's actually an MMA journalist. And people get mad about CM Punk getting a shot. Get mad about Mike Jackson getting a shot. Because Mike Jackson can say he's a UFC fighter. He has no real martial arts experience to speak of. He's not like some former jiu-jitsu champion or a boxer or anything. He doesn't have any athletic background that I can really point to, and he doesn't have any amateur record. And he got a fight. And he got completely dominated and got his shoulder separated and knocked out in like 30 seconds. He got ran through. The guy he fought made an example of him. Actually, I think he fought Mickey Gall.
Yeah, it was Mickey Gall.
Yeah, it was Mickey Gall. He fought Mickey Gall, and Mickey Gall just fucking ran through him. So, CM Punk gonna fight again. One more UFC guy I want to touch on. Brock Lesnar. There's a lot of buzz around Brock Lesnar. A lot of that is coming because his WWE contract is up for renegotiation. And so he takes a photo with Dana White, puts it on social media, or Dana does at least, and, the buzz is going. He's not really that happy with the WWE right now, so he might step away. He might fight in the meantime. Are you buying any of this?
No.
There's no way, right?
I mean, can you see Brock Lesnar competing and being successful without steroids?
Exactly. He fought all of his fights except for the Mark Hunt fight before the USADA era. Super sketchy. Then he fights the Mark Hunt fight. Test positive. Is this a guy who's going to start competing for the first time clean at the age of 40, 41? No, obviously not. So, and he would have to do, I think because of the agreement of his like probation from his last test, he would have to do like a year of testing leading up to the fight. So he would have to be sitting around not cashing checks for a year. There's no way Brock Lesnar does this. It's absolute foolishness. Yeah. It's rank foolishness. I won't hear any more of it.
Unless he went to Ryzen.
Unless he went to Ryzen. That's it. Just go to Ryzen and just juice to hell. Is there a chance? Could we put on if
it fights the winner of the tournament?
Oh man, he just comes out at the end, Money in the Bank style.
Yeah, like the tournament ends. It's the big heavyweight tournament.
I'll say this: if
we have the winners probably be Matt Mitrione, and then all of a sudden Brock Lesnar just comes down the ramp because they have like that cool WCW ramp in Bellator.
They do.
And then he comes out to his what is it? Down with the Sickness is the song.
Some metal, yeah, some metal bullshit.
Too. Yeah, and he just rips his shirt off and challenges the champion in Russia.
Yo, I would be so into that. Also, but Bellator can do that. Bellator, like, they get Bobby Lashley to fight, and Bobby Lashley is on every steroid that Brock Lesnar is on.
Yeah.
He can do it. The way they get around it is they fight... They fight on, like, Native American reserves, right? And you don't have to do testing on Native American reserves.
Bobby Lashley on the low has become an actual good wrestler.
Actual good professional wrestler? He is. He used to be so bad at promos. He used to be so bad on the mic. He's gotten so much better. Oh my god.
We have Golden Boy and HBO working together with the rival Top Rank in ESPN to give us Lomachenko versus Linares on May 12th from Madison Square Garden. Is this monumental? Are we finally like getting rid of like the divisions and the politics to get us the biggest and baddest fights?
I think that boxing has finally realized this great saying, and I wish I could remember who said it. I apologize. I'll come back next week, hopefully, and I'll remember to give the quote attribution. It's not me against you. It's us against the problem. And I love that quote, and I think that quote applies here because boxing promoters are starting to realize the problem is that nobody's watching. And nobody's been watching. But people will watch big fights. Ask Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz if people are going to watch big fights. Ask Anthony Joshua versus Klitschko. We can keep going down the list. People like to see the best fight the best. They like it a whole bunch. And so I think that these guys are just finally smartening up.
And, I mean, the history between Top Rank and Golden Boy goes back to the early 2000s. Let us not forget that both Floyd Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya started with Top Rank. Started from 0-0, the very first fight with Top Rank. Bob Arum built both of them, and they both left and created their own promotions. So Golden Boy and Top Rank have been they've been at each other's neck for a long time, and the fact that they're kind of burying the hatchet. And the way they did this, too, because you know what happened, right, is the fact that Lomachenko's on ESPN, Linares is on HBO. Both, of course, you know, Linares is Golden Boy, and Lomachenko's Top Rank. So they have the two stations had to come to a compromise because they have a boxing event on the same night and they didn't want to compete. So ESPN smartened up. They decided to make the event end right before the HBO event starts. So we're going to have two cards on the same night.
It's going to be fucking great. That's going to be a wonderful, wonderful week. What, do you like that fight? Do you like Lomachenko versus Linares?
I like the fight, but usually when this happens, it's a CBS and Showtime collaboration. They're owned by the same parent company, so that's normal. So I love the fact that two companies that are technically rivals are doing something very similar. You know, it really means something. I feel like it's setting like a good precedence for like the future. And in this fight, I think it's a phenomenal fight. How big can Lomachenko get? This fight's going to show it because Linares is looking nothing but fantastic in his third comeback of his career. And but Lomachenko's otherworldly right now.
He's Lomachenko, yeah. He's verbed. You know what I mean? He's traveled over to where like you can say like, oh, that guy got Lomachenko'd.
Yeah.
He's verbed. and that fucking matters. And Jorge Linares is a super tough fighter, but he's not Lomachenko. But he is way bigger, and we're going to talk about size here pretty soon. Overall, I'm thrilled that this is happening. I'm thrilled with the fight. I think this is all aces. You guys get straight A's and blowjobs all around.
And you know that if Linares wins, it makes the Mikey Garcia fight so much more juicy.
That's all right. Do you want to get into Mikey Garcia while we're here? Do you have any final thoughts on this before we move on to the Mikey Garcia?
Yes, I do. I think if Lomachenko wins, there's no Lomachenko-Mikey Garcia fight. That never happens.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's stop right there. Why is that?
I think the size difference and the skill, and it'll just be too much to overcome. But I feel like if Linares wins, then the Mikey Garcia-Linares fight is the next one to happen.
I can see that totally. Mikey Garcia, we've said his name a couple of times. Let's start dancing around. Mikey Garcia wins another world championship this weekend, Jesse, and he jumps up another weight class to do it. What did you think of this fight? How do you think Mikey Garcia looked? Mikey Garcia, who's becoming more and more of a star every fight.
I thought it was a fantastic fight, and I think Mikey Garcia was very impressive. I mean, you are starting to see that he is jumping a little bit too many weight classes, something that, we may see with Lomachenko in his next fight against Linares, but it's starting to show like he's starting not to look as dominant. He's looking in the lighter weight classes, but still has a phenomenal punch and looked fantastic.
You can still see it in his body. He's not a 140-pounder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not. There's a lot of empanadas in that 140. But he is a 4-time world champion. And that's fantastic. I think that he managed the size well. I thought his shot selection was really strong. He's just operating on all cylinders right now. He's a guy that it really paid off for him to take the time to manage his career.
Yes.
It has paid off in such a big way, and he's so white hot right now. I hope he does get the Lomachenko fight, or I hope the Linares fight gets some heat under it, because his skill level would really suit the crossover limelight. And his story, he's got a great story. This is a main eventer.
And this weight class is looking very good, especially since Terrence Crawford just moved up. We had another fight in the weight class for another belt in the weight class with Regis Prograis versus Ndongo.
Yeah, I feel a little bad. Can I be honest?
Yes.
I feel a little bad for Ndongo. Because the only times that people see him, he's getting fucking washed. You know what I mean? He's getting hung up to dry.
This is a former unified champion here, just a year ago.
Yeah, he was super hot. He's the GDP of Namibia. He's big shit over there. And he has really good skill. I've seen clips and gone back and watched things. He knows how to fight. But he fights Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is Terrence Crawford. And he puts him out of there in the second round with a body shot. Now Regis Prograis, he comes in and overhand done in the second. Actually, overhand, stand back up. Another overhand done in the second, I believe.
Yes.
Whoa. They should have stopped after that first one, by the way.
Yeah, Prograis he's definitely going to be a major player in this division. It's going to be very interesting to see where he goes. It made a lot of interesting discussion about who would win if they had a unification match with Mikey Garcia.
I think that conversation is warranted, but I haven't seen anything that would make me think Prograis would win. I have seen enough that I think it would be an interesting fight, though. You know what I mean?
Prograis is a lot bigger.
He is a lot bigger, and size does matter.
Yes.
Size is starting to matter a lot more in boxing than... I'm Mr. Technique, and I'm Mr. Let's make the best fights, and, let's move around and wait and find the best stuff. We're starting to see guys are really paying the price when they bump up in weight class. More and more and more.
For those that don't know, is the amateur rival to Errol Spence Jr. The first time they fought, many people thought that Prograis won the first fight, but he lost in a very, very close competitive fight. The second fight, Errol Spence just completely dominated. But since they're from the same area, it was a very heated amateur rivalry between. It was only 2 fights, but it was a very
2 fights
very heated between the 2 gyms. Yeah,
that's enough. All of this, Prograis is out there. Do you think that's the fight that keeps Garcia hot in the meantime, while he's waiting for something bigger to come up? Or does he have a mandatory that I don't know about?
He's got a mandatory, but it's nobody that we know.
He's got 15 belts, so he's got to have at least one fucking mandatory.
Well, Prograis has a mandatory. Well, it's not a mandatory. The title he won is the interim WBC belt. The actual WBC belt will be how do you say, unvacant? It's vacant, but like someone will actually win the title this weekend. We got Jose Ramirez versus Amir Imam.
By the way, how well is this show flowing together? Can I just suck our own dicks for a second for our fucking segues? Keep going, Jesse. That's good professionalism.
And it'll happen this weekend, and it's another situation where two rival companies are working together to make a big fight happen. This isn't necessarily a big fight to, like, you know, mainstream fans, but to boxing nerds, this is a phenomenal fight. Don King and Top Rank are working together. These are two 80-year-old men who competed for the entire 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even early 2000s were heated rivals, and now they're working together for this one. It's going to be a great fight. I mean, Amir Imam, this is his first fight after 4 years since that debacle. I mean, he's fought, but this is his first big fight since the Granados fight 4 years ago where he got upset with a knockout in what was supposed to be his showcase fight on Showtime.
Oh, I remember. It was a hell of a knockout, too. When he got knocked out, he did get knocked out. Full credit.
And Jose Ramirez is kind of where Amir Imam was at that time, except he beat his Granados. He beat Mike Reed, and now he graduates to be able to fight Amir Imam, and the winner of this fights Prograis.
First question, are either of these guys really ready for a guy like Regis Prograis? With what we've seen so far in their careers, do you think one of these guys is really ready to make this big leap? Do you think one of these guys is a bad style matchup? Do you think one of these guys is really an under-the-radar guy? Or are these both just kind of tomato cans we're throwing at each other, one's going to get more dented than the other?
I'm going to be honest. I feel like Amir Imam has a heck of a shot against Regis Prograis. Everybody who's, you know, since the time of the Granados fight, all I've been hearing about him is through boxing podcasts, through other boxers, about how great he's looked. He just hasn't been able to get the big fights. And pound for pound, he's one of the hardest hitters in all of boxing, and he's fast.
Yeah.
So it's a very
it's interesting. I want to see him again. You know what I mean? I want to get the spotlight on these guys and see what happens. Regis Prograis, that guy hits so fucking hard. If he gets in there with Amir Imam, the referee is going to need to wear like one of those suits they defuse bombs in. You know what I mean? Just saying, I wouldn't want to jump in. Can you imagine those two dudes are throwing down? I got to jump in the middle and call time? Fuck that. You guys figure it out. You guys call time. I'm not doing it. Fuck that.
Amir Imam has one of those weird Tito Trinidad shapes where he doesn't look strong, but he delivers a hell of a blow. Like, you don't know where the power comes from.
He doesn't look strong. He doesn't look strong. About 3 seconds into the fight, you're going to find out he is strong because you can just see it in the way he moves and the way he's, you know, even in his stance. That's a heavy hitting guy. You know what I mean? Everything about the way this dude fights does suggest, I'm here to knock you the fuck out. And I know it.
What's your take on Ramirez?
Young kid, I've only seen, I think, 2 fights of his. I saw the Mike Reed fight. He's all right. He looked fine. I didn't see anything that, you know, lit my shoes on fire. Right now, to me, he's just one of these guys that's outside the bubble, kind of looking in, and he's a win away from being in the club.
He's a hell of a draw where he's from, and he puts butts in seats. They're hoping he's going to be a big star. I mean, he's a very disciplined kid, and like I said, his career has been handled very well.
Ramirez, what is that, French? Where's he from?
Mexico.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So that's one of those things where there's nothing impressive about him, but he gets the job done. Doesn't look pretty. It's not impressive. It's not an ESPN highlight, but he gets the job done. And a lot of times, that's enough to kind of get you to the next level.
Listen, man, if you keep catching W's, eventually you're going to get harder fights. Do you want to hear some fun news that I just got?
What's that?
I actually just got offered another pro fight April 13th in Baltimore, so that's cool.
April 13th?
April 13th, a pro jiu-jitsu fight for the Fight to Win organization at 185 pounds, purple belt gi. We'll see if I'll have my people talk to their people. Now I have to manage my own career intelligently.
Nice.
We'll see.
Well, best of luck. April 13th in Baltimore, catch that fight.
Let's fucking do it.
I'm going to be there in my suit again, which was great because I went to the event and I was wearing a suit. And I walked around literally everywhere and people just assumed I worked there.
No, people thought you were my pimp. Because you were like giving me water and being like, you did good tonight. You know, you're gonna make a lot of money off that for us. But you know, it's really gonna help out your visibility for you know, our brand. And people were just like, oh, I guess that one little Filipino guy sells the other guy for ass, I guess. It was a wonderful night. It was very fun. I look forward to it. April 13th. More details to come on the show, I guess. That is breaking. It literally just got to me.
On the undercard to the Pro Greats versus Ramirez.
Who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to win?
Alexander.
No, stop. Who do you think is going to win? We got to say that.
Jose Ramirez.
I agree. I go for Ramirez in this fight. He won his step-up fight. You know what I mean? And that's important. Yeah. He beat his gatekeeper. Imam did not. Yes. So that matters. That fucking matters to me. When Imam wasn't able to beat Granados, to me, you know, I closed the book on him, and when I close a book on somebody, you got to open it back up for me. I don't just...
You hypocrite. You hypocrite, because you've been saying that's the problem with boxing for a long time. They're like, one loss, and people forget about you.
Jesse, you're so fucking right. I feel so naked right now. God damn, you're right. I fell into my own trap. How fucked up is that? That's why I don't understand when people are like, I don't live with regrets. I have regrets from like 20 minutes ago. What fucking life are you living where just the past is burning like a bridge behind you and you're just moving forward? The guy from Memento has regrets and he can't remember his past. I don't get it. So you were saying we have an Alexander Volkov fight this weekend, Jesse Rivas, or so I've heard.
Yes, and he's going to fight against Amir from France. He's like, I think, like the third or second best boxer in the division in France. This is just going to be a way to give him the interim WBC title, the one that Andre Ward had before he retired. So this is kind of like, you know, this is just kind of to get him there. It's a marketing tool. He's going to look fantastic. It's amazing, but it's not necessarily a great fight.
It's fine. It keeps him hot. It keeps the fire under Volkov, who I do expect to carry in this fight. You know, Mediamar is a tough guy, but Volkov kind of has a rocket strapped to him right now, and I look forward to that continuing.
But this is an interim belt, and it's an interim belt. It's a WBC interim belt for Adonis Stevenson. So
he's never going to see the fight.
you know what's interesting? I just remember this right now.
He'll be one of Adonis Stevenson's 35 interim champions. I feel like we've been down this road before with Adonis Stevenson.
Yeah, because that Colombian kid, that Colombian guy, he's also he's mandatory. So he has a mandatory, has an interim fighter.
Serious question: how many side pieces does? No.
Alvarez.
Yeah, how many side pieces does Adonis Stevenson have? It's gotta be in the thousands with the way he fights. It's gotta be in the thousands or something, right?
You have a mandatory, and you're gonna have an interim.
Listen, sometimes you got a girl at home, you still hit the club. Shit happens. No,
see, now this could fall on Badu Jack, because Badu Jack will be fighting Adonis Stevenson on May 19th. So this would be interesting. If he were to beat him, then he's stuck with this predicament.
It'll throw a big rock right into the middle of this calm water that has been the Adonis Stevenson championship reign. The linear champion, by the way, so that's a very important fight that I don't favor Adonis in. Spoiler alert.
The champions in his division, and look at the records. I find this very interesting. So we have Dmitry Bivol as the WBA champion. He's 13-0.
Bet.
The IBF champion is Artur Berdabiev, and he's 12-0.
Another Eastern European with an undefeated record. But like Volkov, 8 fights.
Volkov is 14-0.
All of these are super low. By the way, for MMA people are probably like, these are amazing records. These are guys who are building their way up in boxing usually. These are guys who are just starting to see their toughest fights. These are not guys who are in championship level fights or champions. But Beterbiev is 12 fights in. He is the IBF champion. That is very rare in boxing.
And then, Kovalev is 32-2. Like, that's a regular champion record. Stevenson is 29-1, which is a regular champion record. But these other ones, it's like, that's not common. We don't normally see champions, and we have potentially three champions with like less than 20 fights.
Yeah, usually I've seen like, if you're an IBF champion, usually I've seen like 12 of your fights. Not like you've had 12 fights. It's crazy, and I look forward to following their careers to see if maybe that's the way. You know what I mean? Maybe this is this old Catskill mentality that people have been stuck in where, no, you got to get in there and you got to do 30 fights before we can get something serious in there. But maybe that's just been bullshit this whole time and guys are really ready after like a dozen. That'd be exciting.
This class is going to be so dead. They're going to draw. They're not going to be able to draw flies to dog shit.
It does fuck up the draw. But they weren't drawing anyway. Check Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev's numbers.
True.
They weren't drawing. This division didn't give a shit.
We so badly needed Joe Smith Jr. to win.
Listen, I love Joe Smith. Anyone that physically knocks a person out of the ring, I'm on board. But he ended up losing that fight to the goddamn Russians. 2016 all over.
Definitely an Eastern Bloc division. Badu Jack could bring it in because he has a name that we could pronounce. We could root for a Badu Jack.
I look forward to Badu Jack really upsetting the apple cart. Do you have anything else on that? Can we move on to another fight?
Yeah, we can move on.
You see Vazik winning that one, right?
Easily winning this one.
Absolutely.
This guy's not even the number one light heavyweight. Sorry, he's not the number one light heavyweight in France. So I don't expect him to be the world champion light heavyweight. Yeah,
it's just not going to happen. So we were talking a little bit earlier about size and how size matters, or so I've heard. In this past weekend, we had a fight that I think I want to point out because first of all, there's a lot of controversy around it. Second of all, I think I called this on the show. And I'm talking, of course, about Scott Quigg versus Oscar Valdez. And I was talking about size difference, and it turns out I was a little mixed up here. Oscar Valdez ends up being the smaller guy, and he takes a beating. He wins the fight.
Yes.
He wins the fight, but he takes a lot of damage, breaks his jaw. He's a young kid with a lot of miles on this fight. And I think this is a bad situation now. It turned into a bad situation from poor weight management. Speak on this, please.
What's your take on them saying that Scott Quigg had a foot injury and that's the reason why
he missed weight by a fair margin? He missed it for a title fight. He missed by 3 pounds, and I think
he was a welterweight by the time the fight happened.
Yeah, and they asked him to do a second weigh-in, and he said, "I'm not doing it." And I mean, I guess I understand that you're prize fighting. You know you don't want to give an inch, but it shouldn't be up to the fighters anymore. I think if you miss weight, and people have been floating it, I think I'm for a mandatory second weigh-in. Because we're seeing guys like Scott Quigg come in, and suddenly they're welterweights fighting Oscar Valdez, who's, 130 pounds on fight night. You know, he's not that much. And that kind of size and that kind of power matters over the course of a fight. And we lost time on Oscar Valdez's career. We're going to miss time because of this jaw injury, but also it's going to come off the back end of his career. His career just got a little shorter because of this fight. And I think that's fucked up. And the commission needs to step up and do more. They kind of leave it to the fighters, but the fighters are always going to fight. And they're never going to say, I don't want the fight because the guy was unprofessional and came in too heavy, you know?
And Scott Quigg might have been knocked out by a lot of those shots had he been smaller.
Exactly. You can absorb such a better shot. You know, there's a reason that when guys bump up to heavyweight, their power just doesn't transfer as well. These guys have thicker jaws, bigger shoulders, thicker necks. They can absorb more. Obviously, if you hit a perfect shot, anyone can go down. But, you know, I'd like more wiggle room if I'm in a fight. Then I don't have to get a perfect shot. I don't know about you. So I thought it was fucked up. I thought it was super fucked up. Not a fan of what Scott Quigg was after this weekend. Next, if your foot's that injured that you can't make weight, you can't fight.
I agree, but I look forward to seeing Oscar Valdez going forward. I mean, look, the weight class, we've talked about how amazing it is. We got Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton, you know, we have Abner Maris, Gary Russell Jr., Jojo Diaz, Lee Selby,
Gary Russell Jr.,
Donaire, Scott Quigg. I mean, it's a very good weight class. I don't even know who Jose Rojas is, but I'm sure he's a beast because he has a great record as well.
That's why I've been saying World Boxing Super Series Season 2, brother. This is the weight class they need to do.
Have you seen Jojo Diaz and Gary Russell Jr.'s rivalry?
What is it like? I mean, I've seen their fights. Are you talking like, is it some YouTube channel I need to check out?
ESPN. They both have been getting on ESPN and getting interviews talking mad crazy shit to each other. It's great. The last one, it's even on the website. I don't know. They're really doing a great job of promoting this fight. And Gary Russell Jr. was saying that Bernard Hopkins and Oscar De La Hoya is going to get Jojo Diaz killed off this, trying to call out Gary Russell Jr. for his title shot. So,
hey man, he's a professional fighter and he wants big fights. You're going to get called out. If you're holding a belt, you're going to get called out from time to time. Suck it up.
This fight's a 50-50 fight, and I'm interested in seeing it because I think very highly of Gary Russell Jr., and it might end up at the MGM here in D.C.
Should we go? Let's go.
Yeah, we should make it happen.
Fuck it, let's go.
Bro date.
Mandate. There's a mandate for this mandate. So, moving forward, Oscar Valdez, do you think he has some poor technical habits that you would like to see cleaned up? I thought he had some defensive liabilities.
We said that last week. He's very great offensive, very terrible defensive. That's made his last two fights very, very close. And those fights shouldn't have been close. This Quigg fight, Quigg is a world-class fighter, but his last fights were a big problem with his defense, and he needs to work on that.
Oscar Valdez, I think he is 27. He's around my age. If he wants to fight until he's 30... get your fucking hands up, get your chin down, start moving your feet. It's easy enough for me to say from a couch, I completely understand. But there's serious defensive liabilities. He has his jaw wired shut right now. So hopefully he takes this time to really reflect on where his defensive liabilities are and what he can be doing to improve that technically.
We have some MMA action this weekend as well. We have Fabricio Werdum versus Alexander Volkov, the former N1 champion, the former bellator champion versus the former UFC champion. How do you see this fight going?
First of all, if people want to check some of my thoughts on this fight, they can listen to last week's episode where I fucked up. You did not fuck up, Jesse. I'll take full credit for this. I fucked up, and I thought it was happening this week. Turns out we had an off week from MMA, so I listed some of these fights, and we talked about them last week. Volkov is incredibly tall. I believe he's 6'7", a little bit more of a striker. He likes to work from the clinch by trade. Fabricio Werdum is Fabricio Werdum, might be the greatest heavyweight of all time. Tapped out Fedor, tapped out Nogueira, beat everybody. Former UFC champion, beat the fuck out of Cain Velasquez, run down the resume. I don't know that Alexander Volkov has a sharp enough sword to stop what Fabricio Werdum is doing. To me, we're basically running back the Travis Brown fights, if I'm being honest.
I can see that.
It's a super tall guy. He's going to be awkward in places. But, Werdum has won 2 fights against Brown. It's not like he doesn't know how to fight tall guys. So I don't know where Volkov is going to come in with an edge where he can really push the issue. I even think from standing, Verdum's going to be fine, if not more effective.
So you're saying people shouldn't watch this fight?
I mean, people can make up their own minds. I might not watch live. I think I have a show going on then, so I'm not watching it live anyway. But
you completely talked me out of it. I was like, hey, I might catch that fight. I may not.
Listen, I want to see the best fight the best, and I Volkov has never done anything bad to me, but I have to give my honest opinion on this. I think Werdum pounds him out from the mount within 10 minutes.
If this fight had happened a few years ago, it would be a unification fight.
That would have been dope. That would have been fantastic, and I would have been super into that. But as for this, not so much, Especially because apparently Werdum met with some WWE officials, and he might be, starting to look towards the squared circle a little bit. Did you hear about that?
I did not hear about that.
Isn't that fun? Wouldn't you like Fabricio Werdum in a WWE ring? I would.
I mean, he's not very exciting of a character in the cage already. I can't imagine him being more than a Lance Storm in the WWE.
Lance Storm did work. I believe in Lance Storm. So that's the main event. Do you disagree with my analysis? Do you see the fight being closer?
No, I can see Fabricio winning this very easy. The fight that does intrigue me is the rematch between Jan Blachowicz versus Jimmy Manuwa. It's the former KSW light heavyweight champion, the biggest star. KSW is so big in Poland that they've actually drawn bigger numbers than the UFC in a couple of months.
Yeah, don't they have, the record? I think they own the record for most attendance at one show.
Yes.
And it's ridiculous. They start showing photos. I don't know the numbers. I don't have the numbers in front of me. You see the photos from there. It's unbelievable. It's like seeing, the Tokyo Dome when the Beatles played or something. It's unreal.
Yeah, and Jimmy Manuwa was a huge star in London and like the UK and like Ultimate Challenge MMA. So it's two big stars. And here's one question that I have. I know this is a rematch. I know they fought before. I know Jimmy Manuwa schooled him in Poland. But do you think that this is a case of two guys who were just good regional fighters and now are like, you know, kind of beat fighters in the world class, but they stayed regional, so they built a reputation? Or do you think they just left their prime in those regions?
I think this is UFC light heavyweight. I think it is a lot of B fighters in the top 15, if we're being honest. A lot of breadcrumbs in the old recipe here, trying to make it fit for everybody. I think they both definitely have big technical holes that you would want to see filled. Jimmy Manuwa doesn't really have a ground game. Jan Blachowicz is super hittable. You know, he doesn't move his feet well enough, and he's not offensive enough at times to be able to pull out the bigger fights. But do I think they left their best stuff over? Well, I didn't see their fights in Poland and in London. I've only seen what we have now. But I think they're just kind of guys who hit their ceiling. They're just, regional champions who are not going to translate into top 3 brand name UFC guys.
Is this what the theme of this card is? A few years ago, this would have been a unification fight.
This could have been like a fight to the UFC. You know what I mean? You'll see that every once in a while. It's like very clearly like 2 super hot prospects are going to fight in the main event of some, King of the Cage regional bullshit. And the winner is getting a call from the matchmaker, from Sean Shelby. So this could have been that at maybe like 2010-ish, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like 8 years ago, this card would have been dope.
This would have been awesome. Yeah, we with a time machine, we could really make this card exciting. All we have to do is invent a time machine.
8 years ago.
Small problem, Stephen Hawking is dead, so time travel isn't possible. Do you have anything else this week, Jesse? Keep talking to me.
That's it. That's all I got. Do you got anything?
I mean, I think I'm good. We get in, we get out some weeks. We just talk about whatever's in front of us, however long it takes. Listen, sometimes you don't need foreplay. Sometimes we can get right to the full pen. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Sometimes I thought it was a perfectly acceptable length. I had a great time. How about that? Put yourself over, Mr. Jesse Rivas.
Follow me on social media. I am back on social media. It feels good to be back. J Rivas Comedy on Twitter and Instagram, and Jesse Rivas on Facebook.
Hell yeah. Find the show on Facebook, Fighters Block. Find me on Instagram, Joseph M. Gilpin. Look out for my pro fight details. That's going to be awesome. Make sure you like and subscribe to the show. That really helps us out. We really appreciate it. For all of us here on the block, we'll be back next week talking all the fight stuff. See all you guys soon.